Panama City Beach in 1995 was a mixture of small, beachfront hotels. The town of 10,000 people relied on the 3 summer holidays and essentially shut down for most of the year.
We were a very old beach resort before Opal.
At first, Hurricane Opal did not seem like a major threat.
4 days before, it was just a mess of clouds. There wasn't much to it. And all of a sudden, it formed and made a beeline straight to us.
Then the storm began to strengthen.
But if you don't feel comfortable in your house, then leave. We've got a very dangerous storm lurking on our doorstep, and it's moving at us, and we need to treat this as one of the most dangerous things we've seen in the Gulf.
Current Bay County Manager Bob Micah was the second in command at the Emergency Operations Center. The storm was much stronger than first thought, rapidly strengthening from a Category 2 to a Category 4 and barreling down on the Panhandle. It was even looking like it might become a Category 5. Cell phones were just starting to become popular, the internet barely existed, and emergency leaders said they had no choice but to wait until the morning before they could tell people to evacuate.
We lost probably 24 hours of time that we needed to have people move, and then we had people that got on the road, and the roadways all throughout the Panhandle became jammed. And knowing from my training and my experience that mathematically it was not going to work.
Banks, gas stations, and roadways were swamped by people and vehicles.
We came up Star Avenue to get to this intersection, and the traffic was 4 miles back.
Those who could get out did, and those who chose to stay hunkered down and nervously watched the storm. Panama City Beach City Manager Richard Jackson rode out the storm inside the old City Hall.
The building stood up pretty well, but it sure rattled a lot and shook a lot. I said the next day that I won't do that again.
At News 13, Tom Lewis, Amy Hoyt, and the reporters and crew members broadcast throughout the night.
And as you can see, this is down at the city marina, the waves crashing up over the edge of the seawall. There's some of the boats we were talking about earlier today. They are secured, but still being tossed around almost like corks on the water. The impact of those waves quite strong. The force of water and wind, something that the human spirit may try to overcome, but the human body certainly cannot, and very much so the same can be said of man-made materials such as boats.
The wind howled, and at times they watched debris fly around the station. Intense memories that stay with them to this day.
I wondered, as we were sitting here watching the roof peel off, that maybe we should have left. Maybe we shouldn't have stuck around.
When the storm passed, journalists and emergency workers got their first clear view of the heartbreaking damage.
We were pretty surprised at how bad it was. We knew it was going to be bad, but to see it visually, of course, the next day, the sun's always shining the day after the storm. It's like nothing ever happened to Mother Nature. And so to see that, it was frightening.
Richard Jackson walked outside to see that much of his town was destroyed.
When daylight came and I looked out the back door, my heart sank. Went down the front beach road in both directions. You could see nothing but debris, and the roadway was covered up.
News 13's Tom Lewis was one of the first journalists to report back from Panama City Beach.
It was just the most eerie, strange sight I'd ever seen. There was the whole back end of this house had been torn out. You could see right into it. And I was looking into the kitchen of this house. The cabinet doors were open, and every plate was stacked in there perfectly. They weren't broken or anything else. All the china was sitting there the daily plates. All the plates were just sitting there perfectly stacked in this house that had been wrecked, I
got chills all over me just looking at it.
While Panama City Beach suffered a serious hit, there was also flooding in other parts of Bay County.
We've been married 30 years, and it's everything we've built and worked for 30 years. It's just ruined.
The extent of the damage and concerns about looting led to what officials now say was a major mistake. Roadways back into town were blocked to everyone, including angry residents who wanted to get back home.
I'm walking back across that road.
Again, almost 200 people are stuck there. They're very irate.
I'm sorry, but until they tell us to undo the roadblock, we're staying right here.
Well, what are we supposed to do if we have no place to go?
County leaders who said they were worried about downed power lines and other damage decided to keep people out in hopes of protecting them.
So they couldn't understand why they couldn't go home. They didn't understand the scope of it. Wires were down, trees were down, homes were crushed.
Emergency workers also wanted to clear the debris before the roadways became flooded with motorists.
The gawkers, I wish they'd just get off the road because they're slowing our operation down. We can only get like 10 miles an hour going to the dump, and we got to go like 5 miles to dump this stuff, and it's holding us up.
The problems led to major changes. No longer would emergency workers stop homeowners from re-entry once the roads were clear.
We heard the public loud and clear after Opal.
After the storm, the community came together to help each other.
I think that goodness and kindness has been here my entire life, and so I saw it then, and we saw it again with Michael. The spirit's always the same.
The storm, the first sign of major changes coming to Panama City Beach.
That was a different time then. All of our hotels were local, our restaurants were local. Panama City Beach has become a chain location now. Big money has found out they can make money here, and you don't have the personal interest between one business and the other that you used to. I think that's a shame that there's not the community feel that there used to be between businesses. I miss that.
But the storm also brought positive changes and a stronger infrastructure.
It was a bad deal that made us better. Most everything that happens bad to us helps us. And while I don't want another one, I know if we get one, we'll improve.